Alrighty, okay. So I'm gonna get going now. I'm just gonna go over a few things before we get painting. So again, my name's Heather. I'll be your host for tonight. Here we go. A couple more, sorry. Okay, so a couple rules before we get going. I'm gonna say that everybody stays muted throughout the class, but if you have any questions at all, feel free to type them in the chat below. Or you can also unmute yourself to ask the question. I'll be happy to answer it. We're a pretty small group, so just feel free to unmute if you have a question throughout. This is a pretty relaxed class, so we're just gonna go through, take our time. It's about having fun. There's no mistakes, no right or wrongs. We're gonna do this painting and we're gonna have fun with it, okay? So a couple other things, we are recording, so if you do not wanna be recorded, please turn off your camera. Can you also, just before we get going, the chat at the bottom here, if you could just type in how many people are participating in your household, that'd be great, really helpful info for us. So if you can type that number into the chat, that'd be awesome. So again, really relaxed paint night, so hopefully you've got all your materials set up. I did send an image of the painting we're doing to you guys in that email with the link. So if you have that, pull it up. It's good to reference that throughout, or if you've printed it off, that's perfect. So we'll be referencing that image as we go. Trying to think if there's anything else. Again, if you have questions, type it in the chat, unmute yourself, ask them, and I'll be happy to answer. So real quick, I'm gonna go over everything that I have on my setup and that you guys should have. So I've got my canvas. I've got my image here to follow along as well, so if you pull it up on your screen, you can do that. I've got a ruler. I've got a pencil, because we are going to be sketching a little bit. I've got a variety of like paint brushes here, kind of some different sizes to work with. So I've got a medium, a smaller one, and then kind of a larger-ish one. But we don't need super large paint brushes, so just a few that you've got, different sizes, that's perfect. So I've got my palette here as well with my paints already in there. So if you haven't done that yet, stick your paints in your palette. So the paints that we are using, light blue, a darker blue, white, black, brown, dark green, and a turquoise color. But if you don't have the darker or lighter, we can always add the white or black to the paint, so no worries at all. Next, masking tape. So if you've got some tape around, painter's tape, whatever you've got will work. Paper towel, and I've got my water container, and some cotton balls if you have them, but again, totally optional. So I think that's it. So I think we're ready to get going here. So to start off, we want to use our tape. So grab your tape here, and I'm going to rip off a strip because we are going to start by defining our horizon line. So I'm going to use my tape to do that. So in my image, I've got a line where the water meets the sky. So we're going to define that line using this tape. That way we have it marked off, okay? Hopefully everybody's good to go. Actually, this would be a good time to use reactions. Give me a thumbs up to let me know that you are all set and ready to get started, okay? So at the bottom here, reactions, if you click on that, it'll give you a little thumbs up. So I just put it on my screen here. So if you are ready, hit the reaction button with the thumbs up. Perfect. All right, thanks, Karen. Cool, Bree's ready to go. Perfect, okay. We got iPhone ready to go at the bottom. Okay, perfect. Alrighty, no worries if you're not completely ready. I'm gonna go pretty slow. So take your tape, and we want to define our horizon line. So that's not going to be quite the middle of our canvas. We're just going to come up off the bottom a little bit. So right towards the bottom, we're going to throw a line of our painter's tape. So just enough where we're leaving space for our sand at the bottom. So wherever you feel like that's fit. Again, there's no right or wrong. So if you want a lot of sand, move your paint line up higher. If you want a little bit of sand, it can be lower. But I'm going to place mine right about there. So not quite the middle of the canvas, just underneath. So straight across, and you'll want to press down pretty hard as well, just so the paint or the tape sits there and sticks. Okay, so I'm gonna rip that off, and you can just wrap it around the sides. Okay, perfect. So I've laid mine down, and now it's kind of hard to see because mine's the same color here, but that's where I'm kind of sticking my line. So not quite halfway, but just a little bit under here. All right, so stick that line down. Okay, perfect. Alrighty, now grab your largest paintbrush because we're gonna have to fill in a lot of space for the sky here. So we are gonna go in with our light blue color. Now if it's not quite as light as you'd like, you can add white to it to make it a little lighter. But we are going to paint in our sky. So take some of that light blue you have, and if you'd like to mix white into it, but we're gonna start at the top of our canvas and kind of work our way down. So you can follow along with me, also reference that image as well. So I'm gonna add some white to mine. It's not quite as light as I would like it. So once you've kind of got your color ready to go, I can kind of show you my palette here. So I'm mixing my blue there. And I'm gonna throw that right at the top and we're gonna work our way down. So here we go, straight across here. Okay, so take that blue color and we're working all the way down here, starting at the top. Okay. You might need to grab more paint, mix more, a little bit more as we go. But we want to cover the top part of this with this light blue color. So take it straight across. And we're going to make our sky here. Great. So if you've got a line of blue going here, as we go down, we want to make that lighter and lighter. So we're going to be adding white to continuously drag the blue down to get lighter, okay? So take that blue paint, add more white each time so our color gets lighter and lighter. So you've got your first layer of blue, your second layer here is gonna be even lighter, and just keep adding white. Okay, so we wanna gradually get lighter and lighter as we go. Okay, and two, if you need to, grab some water. It helps to blend the two colors together, and it makes your paint kind of stretch out further, and you can kind of pull it further along the canvas using a little bit of water. Great, so that's our second line of blue, should be lighter than the first line. I'm gonna add more white now to get even lighter. So make sure though, you're blending in those two colors just with a little bit of water on top of the paint, just where those two blue lines meet. Okay, so we just wanna blend that in nicely together. And then again, just keep getting lighter and lighter as we go. So we wanna carry this all the way down to our horizon line where the tape is. And that's gonna be our whitest line. So all the way down at the bottom, we're gonna get to pretty much white. Okay, so keep adding. So blending the two lines again, carrying down. Okay, now I'm getting whiter and whiter as we go. So you're gonna wanna use more white paint in with that blue, mostly white now. Okay, and again, use some water if you need to pull the paint a little bit more to cover the canvas. Water is really good to do that. Okay, I'm gonna grab some more white paint. All right, again, we're going right down to the tape, so that's where we're gonna get the whitest. So keep going, and basically at the bottom here where I'm at, I'm just going in with mostly white. So I'm carrying it down, and it's gonna be basically white paint with the slight bit of blue that I have left on my brush, but it's mostly white, okay? So we want that to be our lightest area of our sky, right down by the masking tape there, our horizon line. Okay, and then just make sure you've got all the canvas at the top pretty much covered. We don't want to see any of that white canvas coming through at the top where the blue is. So just make sure you've got the blue paint all the way across with no white showing through. Don't worry towards the bottom. That's okay if some white canvas comes through because it's really light towards that end. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to kind of bring mine a little bit closer to the camera here so you can see. So that's where I'm at. So I think I am done my sky right now. No worries if you're not, but you can just reference mine here. So basically I've done the lighter blue at the top, carried it down, and it's just gotten lighter to the point where it's pretty much white towards my horizon line there and my tape. So that's what our sky looks like, the base of it anyways. So keep going. No worries if you're not where I'm at. And again, type into the chat or unmute if you've got questions. But that's our sky for right now. And I'm going to clean off my large brush here in the water that I've got. So we want to let this sky dry. So we're going to work towards the bottom of our canvas now and add in where we want our water and our sand and stuff, okay? But I'm just cleaning off my brush that I just used. So in my lighthouse image here, so now we're gonna work on the bottom area here, okay? We're gonna focus on our water and our sand. Keep going with your sky though, if you're not quite there, no worries. Okay, so next I'm gonna sketch. So I'm gonna grab my pencil. And it's gonna be a real simple sketch of where I wanna place my sand. So to do that, in my picture here, if you're referencing, the sand is higher just behind the lighthouse here. So I'm gonna create this line here where the sand meets the water with my pencil, okay, on my canvas. So I'm gonna start off high and then come down low. And I'm gonna create that line on my canvas using my pencil, okay? So you can follow along with me. So right down here, so I wanna save some room under my tape for my water straight across, but I'm gonna do a line for my sand using my pencil here. So I'm gonna start up and I'm gonna come down low. So I'm just gonna darken that up for you guys to see a little bit more. And again, no worries if you're not quite there, but I'll hold it up here. So I just used my pencil, and this line is where my sand is gonna be. So I've just created a line, I sketched that in, and this bottom section will be my sand. And this is where my water will be at the top here, just under the tape, okay? All right, perfect. So hopefully you guys are all where I'm at. If you're sketching in that line, that's great. So I'll hold mine up just one more time here. So I've just sketched my sand line at the bottom, started off high on my left-hand side here and carried it down. Okay, awesome. All right, so that is my sand line. So I think we are gonna go in and we're gonna do our water next. So for that, I'm gonna take my tape off. So you can go ahead and peel your masking tape off because we're gonna go in and fill in our water area next, okay? So you should have a nice line that's gonna tell you exactly where your horizon is and where the water will meet the sky. Alrighty, so that should have come off pretty good. Might still be a little bit wet, but no worries. We're just going right over top with paint again. So stick that off to the side. All right, let's use, again, our large brush because this is kind of a larger area, again, for us to cover with the water. So we want to do that turquoise color. So if you need to darken up your turquoise, add a little bit of that blue color into it. I've got a deep turquoise color here, but again, if you want to darken it up, you can use your blue and mix it in with that light turquoise if that's what you have. But we just want that to be a little bit on the darker side. So I'm going to take my turquoise color, which I could probably hold it up to the, well, the lighting's not that good. But here's my turquoise, so it's just a little bit on the darker side. But no worries, add your blue in. Mix in some blue if you want to darken it up. But I'm going to take that and I'm going to go straight across my horizon line here with this turquoise color. Okay, so get that on your large brush. And we're going to carry that across here following the horizon line. Now it doesn't have to be perfect or straight, like it's water, so it's going to have some curvy lines to it. So don't worry if you go a little bit into the sky. Not a big deal. We just want to carry that straight across. Cool. So following that horizon line, just carry it straight across and then we're going to bring it down after. But we just want to define where that water starts and meets the horizon here. Okay, actually I might add a little bit of blue to my turquoise as well, just to kind of darken it up to more of a bluer color, just a little bit. Okay, so keep carrying that straight across. This is our darkest point of our water here. So it's just going to get lighter as we get closer to the sand. So just like I'm doing it, carrying it straight across. So we want to cover the canvas now. So we don't want any of that white canvas showing through here when we do the water. So make sure you have enough paint where it's covering the white canvas. Okay, great. Now I'm just going to bring that dark color down just a little bit more and fill it in. Just a little bit. Carry it down like this. Hopefully you guys can see and you're following along and it's looking good on your end. All right, and again, the image, use the image if you've got it up on your screen or you printed one off. It's really good to follow along with that as well. It's kind of hard to see my canvas. Okay, awesome. All right, now I'm just gonna add a little bit of white to that, just a tiny bit to lighten it up, because that's the next color we're gonna use. So again, like our sky, we're gonna just gradually get lighter as we go. So the lightest point being near the sand. So that color that you're using, add some white. Okay, so just a little bit of white, not too much, just a shade lighter than what we've been using. So add in some white, mix that together so you've got a lighter color going, and we're gonna add that in next. Just where that dark line ends, we wanna go in with this lighter color, okay? And get it to where you would like it. So if you'd like it a little bit lighter, I'm gonna add just a little bit more white. We just wanna see a little bit of a color difference from that dark into a lighter color here. Okay. And blend that in with the top color. You can go right over top. Again, use some water if you need as well to blend. That'll pull the paint a little bit better. And carry that straight across as well. So just like that. So you might not be able to tell, but that far away, but mine is slightly lighter than that top color there. All right, great job, guys. Looks like we're doing good so far. Nice work. So my next color is going to be even lighter. So add more of that white. Oh, I'm dripping. It's okay if we drip just a little bit. I'm going to cover it up anyways. But if you need to add water to pull that paint, you can, just so it blends good at the top. All right, adding more white. I want an even lighter color. And I'm going to add that in right underneath. Here we go. And blend the two. Awesome. And carry that one straight across. I'm just cleaning my brush a little bit just to clean up some areas and blend them together here where my water's touching. All right. Okay, so here's where we get to our lightest part of our water, okay? So we've just got that last strip of water left. So the rest of it is gonna be our lightest blue. So again, we're adding on to that light color we just used, adding more white. We wanna lighten it up even more. We still want it to be blue, but a very light blue. So again, referencing your photo here, I'm gonna hold it up too. So I'm on my like lightest blue area just before the sand, right at the bottom here. Okay, so I'm gonna be filling that in. So, okay, so I've got 3 blues that I've used so far, okay? So I've got my darkest, then I go a little bit lighter, then the next lighter, and now we're on our lightest. Does that make sense? There should be probably close to 4 layers. If you gotta add in another 5th, make it lighter and fill in the bottom, okay? No worries. So we're just basically, the rest of it is gonna be our lightest. So we just wanna be a very light blue when we're filling in the rest of the sand, okay? So I'm adding more white to the blue I was already using. And that is my lightest, and I'm gonna take it right to the sand. So you can do the same, or you can add in another lightest layer if you still have to fill some in, okay? So no worries again, no right or wrong. We just wanna go from a dark blue to a lighter blue. Okay, so this is my last layer that I'm gonna fill in here. And it's my lightest blue. I can still tell it's blue. It's not completely white, but it's a very lighter blue, light blue. Right to my sand line that I made. Okay, and then blend those 2 colors together. Just make sure everything's blended in. That way there's no white canvas lines and it all kind of blends nicely together. Cool, alrighty. So I will hold mine up for you guys to see. Don't mind my little drippy, we're gonna cover that up later. So that's my water, so you can just tell that it's, yeah, that looks good, Bree, awesome. Okay, so yeah, it goes from a dark blue right at the top by the horizon line, and we gradually just get lighter to where this is our lightest blue. Okay, no worries if you're not quite done filling in. Give me a thumbs up if you are in the reactions, and we can keep going, okay? Cool. Awesome, thanks, Karen. Perfect. All right. How How we doing, other friends? Oh, Bree, did you just spill stuff or what? This can get messy. Alrighty, well, I hope we're all pretty good and we're almost done our water. If not, no worries, we're taking it slow. So the next little bit here, I'm gonna do my sand. So now we're gonna fill in, same kind of deal where we're starting off with, oh, well, I guess it's a little bit different. Sorry, we're still gonna have like a variation of tone to color here, just like we did our water and our sky. So it's gonna go from light to dark this time around with the sand. So instead of dark to light, we're switching it. So our lightest part of our sand is starting at the water. And then basically as we get away from the water, we're gonna get to a darker brown, okay? So the brown color you've got, so I think I just mentioned brown, just any brown. So mine's a little bit darker, so I'm just gonna add white to it to lighten it up. So do that now. And we could use the same brush. If you'd like to use a smaller one, you can, but I'm just gonna use the same large one I've been using. I'm just gonna clean it off right now. Okay, so we're cleaning our brush off. Oh, Bree, you wanna grab the door? The door, oh. That's funny. Okay, sorry guys. Here we go, my clean brush, and I'm going into my sand. So, again, I'm grabbing some of my brown paint, whatever brown you have, we just wanna lighten it up. If you already have a light tan color, you can go ahead and use that, but I've got a darker one, so I'm going to grab a little bit of the dark brown, put it into my palette, and I'm gonna mix some white, because I want a light tan color. A very light sandy tan. Okay. So add some white. And we want this like pretty light. So continue to add white till you get it to where you'd like it. And this is, again, if you're looking at the photo, fairly light. So we're really not gonna get too dark with the sand. We're gonna stay pretty light with it. So I'm gonna keep adding more white until I get it the color that I want. Okay, I think I've got my color. So make sure you mix enough, that way it's gonna cover your sand area. But I think I've got mine. I'm just gonna test it out in an area on the canvas. Oh, see, that might be slightly darker. So I might wanna lighten it up just a little bit more. I'm gonna add some more white. We want this pretty light, because it's gonna show up a little darker on the canvas being like stark white. Whatever color we mix will show up a little bit darker on the canvas. So just get it to where you think it's the lightest you can, where it's still a brown, but it's fairly light. Okay, so I think I've got mine. I'm gonna start, and I'm filling in the entire area with this color. Most of our sand will be this color. We'll just, towards the bottom, we're gonna add in a little bit of a darker brown. But use this really light color and fill in your whole sand area, okay? That's why it's gotta be pretty light. So you're almost looking at, it's white with a very little bit of brown, okay? So it's just that really light tan color. And I'm just going in and I'm following the line that I drew in. Make sure that my sand connects and covers that sketch line. And make sure the sand connects to the water, okay? So we're filling that in. If you need to thin it out, you can pull it, because we don't really want this paint to be very thick on the canvas. So you don't need a lot of paint. Again, take some water and it'll pull the paint across the canvas and it'll stretch it further. So I'm just gonna take some water and I'm just gonna pull that down, and it'll kind of stretch your paint a little further because this is a very light coat. So we don't need a lot of paint on the canvas for this. Okay, so again, I'm covering my sketch line. So kind of go over that pencil line that you've created. We want to cover that up, okay? So take the sand right over it, and the sand should line up just over top of your water, okay? All right, so I'm still filling mine in here and take it right to the bottom of the canvas. And just if you see the water coming through the sand, just add more paint on top. It should cover it up. So you shouldn't see that water coming through the sand at all if you've taken it over that line. Try to cover it up and blend the two. Okay. All right, so filling that all in, right down to the bottom of your canvas. And just make sure all of the canvas is covered up. So none of that white canvas is showing through. Okay, so I'll just hold mine up. Oop, here we go. Okay, so I filled that in. Just, it's all one solid color, so it's that light tan color that we made all the way down to the bottom. So just straight, kind of evenly all the way across. And it meets the water, and I've covered up that sketch line. Cool. All right, so next I'm just gonna kind of darken up where we're gonna be putting that grass just towards the very bottom. So I'm just going to, the white color, if you've got some left, the whitish tan that we just used, just add a little bit of brown to that to darken it up. And we're just gonna throw that towards the bottom just to create some shade in that area. Just at the bottom. So add a little bit of brown just to darken that up slightly. Where it's kind of like a very light brown. And I'm just gonna throw that on down below here and kind of carry it up. There's no real right or wrong for this, but it's just a little bit of shading towards the bottom of our canvas. So no right or wrong where you're placing it. Just kind of carry it across the bottom here. Don't go too high up, but just where we're gonna place that grass later. This is just good to create some shadow and some shade in the sand towards the bottom as we come away from the water. So just a little bit so we darken up that sand. All right, so that's kind of what mine looks like. So I'm just darkening it up slightly towards the bottom and working my way up a little bit. So the bottom of our canvas, the very bottom line is where that's gonna be the darkest. So again, we're not going in with a really dark brown. We're just adding a little bit of brown to our tan color and going in with that. And kind of blend it out. You don't need a lot of paint for this. This is really like very minimal paint on the brush as we're going in. Cool. All right, so that's what mine looks like. So just a little bit of shade towards the bottom, not a lot, but just a bit of brown there, just so there's a difference. All right. And again, use your water, rinse your brush off, and if you just want to kind of clean up some lines there where the darker brown meets the light brown, use some water just to pull the paint a bit, and it should blend out. So I'm cleaning off my brush. I'm going to use a little bit of water just to blend those two sand colors together a little bit, just where they meet. Just by using a little bit of water, it kind of cleans up those lines a little bit just at the top. And there's no right or wrong brush strokes, so you can go side to side with your brush strokes, you can go up or down. The sand is pretty organic lines, so again, no right or wrong at all with this. So. All right. Okay, so my finished sand looks like that. Might be kind of hard to see in here, but you could tell we go from a light to a little bit darker, not that much, if that makes sense. All right, great job, guys. Give me a thumbs up when you're good to go and you're done your sand, because then we can go on. So Bree is good. No worries if you're not. Karen is good. All right. This looks awesome. Actually, this would be a great time to, let's kind of, our water's not awful, but this would be a good time to kind of refill on that. So clean off your brush or brushes, and we'll go clean up our water. So I'm gonna just quickly refill my water, and I will be right back. Okay. Alrighty, guys. Okay, so back on, got some new water ready to go. Just gonna come in a little bit closer here. Okay, alrighty, so we should be good to go. I've got some new water here. So now I think we are gonna go into our clouds. So for this is what I'm gonna use my cotton balls for, but if you don't have any, no worries. You can go in with a brush, or if you've got some Kleenex around, some tissue, then use that. All you have to do is just crumple it into a ball, and we can use that to pat the paint on. So Kleenex, cotton balls, you can still use your brush if you'd like, but I'm gonna go in with my cotton ball. So to do this, I'm gonna add a little bit more of I want a completely white area on my palette. So we're dipping our cotton ball or whatever it is into the white paint. Not a lot. You don't need a lot of paint for this. Just lightly dip your cotton ball and kind of wipe the excess off a little bit, either on your paper towel or on the palette itself. And just a little bit of paint. And we are going to create some clouds in the sky here. So going in, right at the top, I'm gonna kind of start, and I'm really just dabbing and creating that cloud shape. Okay, so as you can see on mine here, so just dabbing, there's no right or wrong. dab that paint down, just kind of creating those really fluffy cloud looking marks, if that makes sense. So kind of just circular pressing and dabbing the cotton ball into the canvas. I'm kind of following along with the picture as well, just kind of where I'm going to be placing my clouds. But you could place them wherever you want, just wherever you think. You can get creative with this, and wherever you think there should be a cloud, go ahead and put a cloud. All right, so I'm going to dip mine again into some more white. Again, not too much paint on there, but just some. And I'm going to take my clouds all the way across, and I'm going to kind of create another set of them on this side of my canvas here. So just totally dabbing in here. And just keep grabbing paint on your cotton ball as you go. Our lighthouse is going to cover some of this up, so you don't need to get too intricate with the clouds. Just kind of here and there. Looks good. So as I'm kind of going through, just kind of up here and straight across, so there's clouds on both sides of the sky, is good. Cool. Alrighty. All right, now I'm going to kind of take some of this down into my white area just a little bit. You don't need a lot. We're just going to kind of do another line of clouds towards the white. You may not be able to see them a lot, but that's okay. We just kind of want that same texture kind of further down into the white area of the sky, like the clouds are kind of carrying up. So take some of that down into the bottom here with the clouds, just kind of coming up. Again, you might not be able to see it too much, but just so there's some there, a little bit of some is good. I'm going to grab another cotton ball here. The other one was kind of getting gross. So I'll grab a new one, and almost done with my clouds. I'm just going to add in a few more. Oh, this one's not really good either. I'll grab one more. I think I just want to fill in a couple more areas, and then I think I'm good to go. So I think I'm just going to fill in a little bit more in the middle here. And I don't want too many clouds, but cool. Okay, so here's my clouds. So you can mostly see them right towards the top. My paint's a little light towards the bottom. You can't tell, they're kind of coming up. The camera's not so good, but yeah, just some clouds up in that blue sky towards the top, and you're good to go. You can blend it out even just a little bit more. If you think some areas are too white, just press down a little bit more and kind of blend them out. Okay. All right, so I think I'm good to go with my clouds. Okay, now we're gonna go back into the water. No worries if you're not done your clouds, you can keep going. Actually, now that I'm looking at mine, I'm like, maybe one more. This is where it's tough too. It's like, I don't know how to stop, when to stop. So one sec, I feel like this one just could be a little bit fluffier. Maybe that kind of rounds it out a little bit more. Okay, cool. All right, on to the water. So for this, grab your smallest brush. We're gonna kind of create the watermarks in this one here. So my white watermarks kind of growing across the water. These are gonna be randomly placed, but if you have the image at home, just follow along and kind of reference that. But we're gonna go in and create these white marks in our water for our waves and stuff. So once you're done your clouds, we're gonna move on to that. So grab your smallest brush. So I'm just gonna take a really little one here, just one that I can do some details with. And I'm gonna go in, and it's just straight white paint. So grab a little bit of that. You don't need a lot. We don't wanna put a lot of this on. So just a little bit on the tip of your brush here. And we're just gonna create, most of our white lines will be near the sand because that's where we're gonna see a lot of waves coming in and whatnot. So that's where it's gonna hit the sand. So we're gonna come in and just down in here, you're gonna place some of these white lines. So just take it straight across, kind of follow the image there. If you need to, add more paint, but it's just really these lines that look like the water's moving and waving and coming in. So again, with that small brush. Now mix up your lines. They could be long, short, you know, a couple little ones here and there, a couple long ones, like kind of like that. So again, no right or wrong at all. You're just kind of coming in with some lines. And again, more lines will be near the sand. So we want majority of our lines to come through right near the sand. So these are totally random. Mine are kind of looking like that right now. So I'm just starting by the sand and working my way out towards the dark part of the water. But like long lines, short lines here and there. And mix up the amount of paint you use. So some thin lines, add some thicker lines that are more white. So again, just following the image that you've got at home for those lines. But really just keep it loose and relaxed, and there's no right or wrong placement of these. So I'm adding some just off to the side of the water here too, kind of coming up. So as we get out, they kind of get thinner and thinner and thinner. And I'm not really adding too many where there's going to be the lighthouse, because I know we're covering that area up off to the left-hand side here. So you don't have to take the lines all the way across. You can if you'd like, but not necessary. So just wherever you think you want to place some. All right. I think I'm pretty good. I might just do a little bit more white, just right close to the sand. A few more longer lines, just right by the sand here at the bottom. And then I think I'm gonna be pretty good. Okay, all right, so I'll bring mine nice and close here so you guys can see. So there's my white marks. They're very like sporadic, totally randomly placed. Just there's more by the sand, and then they get less and less towards the dark part of the water. So add those in wherever you like. Okay, so that looks really good so far. We're doing a great job. We're gonna kind of let that dry just a little bit. And then we're gonna go in and we're gonna sketch out our lighthouse. So the next step is to focus on our lighthouse. So I just want our white lines to kind of dry up here just a little bit before I go in with my pencil. So if you're still going with those, no worries. We're making good timing. So we're about an hour in or so. Really, we've got left our lighthouse here, some of our birds and our grass, our sandy grass. So we're doing good. We're partway through here. So nice work, everybody. And again, if you didn't go do your water break just yet and you'd like to go now, go ahead. If you did already, that's great. Just give me a thumbs up if we're doing good. We're enjoying ourselves, if it's working out. Okay, cool. So clean off that brush once you are done with it. Will be our next step. And then we want to get ready our pencil and masking tape kind of on hand, painter's tape ready to go. So leave those brushes to dry. I think my clouds are pretty good up here. I think just my white lines down here. Some of them are just a little thick to dry. Oh, those might be good actually. Cool, all right. So here's where it's gonna get a little bit tricky, as we are gonna freehand this guy. So to do that, you can follow along and watch me, but it's definitely gonna be freehand. We're gonna wanna look at the size of our canvas and just kind of make sure things are proportionately good. So it's gonna be placed off to the left-hand side. We know we have to leave some space for grass and sand on this side. So our lighthouse is gonna be positioned to the left, but not quite to the edge of our canvas. So leave some room. And then it basically goes right to the top of the canvas. You're gonna wanna leave some space for our top section of our lighthouse though. So making sure our two lines for our lighthouse don't go all the way to the top of our canvas. We don't want that. So leave some room towards the top and the side here to the left-hand side of the canvas. So that's where we kind of want to proportionately leave some room. A good thing to do too, you can kind of use your fingers on the picture, and you can use that when you're going in onto your canvas as well. If your picture is close to your canvas size. But basically, our tallest part of our lighthouse is this point, and then at the top, leave some room for our small little light at the very top, okay? But I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna sketch these lines out, these two lines here to get the shape of my lighthouse. So I'm gonna sketch that out now using my pencil. You can watch, you can do it with me now if you'd like, but it's really random. You can use your ruler as well. I probably will or won't, but I'm gonna freehand, okay? So, but you can use your ruler to come up if you'd like. Actually, I might. So I'm leaving some room from the left-hand side of my canvas. So if I place my ruler down, then that gives me some room. Okay, so if you place your ruler down, we're gonna come on the inside of the ruler to trace up. I'm gonna actually tilt mine slightly because our lighthouse lines are gonna go up on an angle, just a slight angle. So I'm gonna just kind of angle my ruler coming up from the bottom here, slightly inward. And I'm gonna draw that line. I'm gonna stop and give myself a little bit of room at the top here though, okay? So I'm gonna drop that line down right there. Okay, so there's my line. Oh, it's hard to see. I'll bring it in. So I just traced that line coming up on an angle slightly inward to the canvas, but I saved myself some room for my grass and left some sand in the corner there, and then it comes up, and I stopped right about where the top of the ruler is there, so I'm leaving myself some room for that light at the top. Okay. So bringing that back down, that's my first line of my lighthouse on the left-hand side. Now I'm gonna take my other line on this side here with the ruler as well. Okay, and I'm just leaving enough space because my lighthouse is gonna come almost to the top of my canvas, so I know I'm leaving myself enough room, just using my fingers from the picture here, what I think it will look like. So it's gonna come pretty much to the top of the canvas, not quite. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go on with my next line. Now you can decide how thick you want your lighthouse to be, but trace up the ruler, and obviously our lighthouse is thickest towards the bottom. It kind of comes up and gets smaller towards the top, so kind of angle your ruler in. So I think mine's pretty good. It's where I want it. So remember, we're filling in this area between our lines will be our lighthouse, so just make sure you're leaving yourself enough room for those stripes in the windows. And you can lay down your other line. Okay, I think I'm good. So I'm gonna put mine down and it's gonna stop. Whoopsie. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to carry mine a little bit more. Okay, here we go. So mine comes all the way up. So again, right to the bottom of the canvas, not quite to the top. So it ends in there. So just enough space where we're gonna fill in and put in our lighthouse stripes and our windows. So that's kind of what mine looks like so far. So leaving, again, room at the top for us to paint the light at the top. Okay, so there's our marks here. I'm gonna sketch out the top of my lighthouse too while I'm at it. We're gonna completely sketch the lighthouse here, and then we're gonna fill it in, okay? Okay, so again, we're just sketching in those two lines. So I used my ruler just straight up. So we're really just doing this bottom section of our lighthouse right now. If it doesn't look quite right, you can grab an eraser if you need to, or just don't press too hard with the pencil, right? We just want to sketch in lightly, and you can always cover stuff up with the paint. So don't be too worried if the lines don't quite look the way that you want them to. If you need to sketch over those lines, no worries, we can cover up with paint afterwards. So if you need to touch up your sky anywhere or your water because of the pencil mark, no worries. Okay, so we just want a thick enough lighthouse, and it's just gonna start at the bottom of our canvas and work its way up to our clouds area. So we're just leaving a little bit of space towards the top, if that makes sense. How we doing? Just give me a thumbs up if you're good to go. So really, we just drew those 2 lines. So if they don't look quite right, you can play around with them a little bit. You can move them, make it bigger, or come in a little bit more. We'll just touch up. But really, mine looks like that. You can have a skinny lighthouse or a bigger lighthouse. Totally up to you. We're just dropping 2 lines here. Okay? All right, so I'm gonna move on to my next top section of my lighthouse. So I drew in my 2 lines coming up. Now I gotta do these lines and my little light at the top, okay? So if you've got the picture, follow along, and we're gonna make these, so these are rounded out lines. So we're gonna make those. So I'm gonna take those right at the top here. I'm gonna see if I can bring it in nice and close so you guys can see. So I'm just coming out here, and I'm gonna curve them around, and we're just making that shape of the first line. And I'm gonna make the shape of the second line coming up as well. Okay, so again, don't press too hard with the pencil in case you gotta move some things or we gotta cover up, but I hope you can see those are my 2 lines there. So 1 here. Does that make sense? Does that look good? Can you guys tell what I'm doing? So I'm drawing those on, and remember they're curved, so we're coming out the side here curved. So these are curving around. Our lighthouse is round, so we're curving those lines. So there's 2 of them, 1, 2. So you're sketching those in. So again, referencing our picture, it's those 2 thick black marks right at the top there that I just drew in, okay? And don't take them right to the top of the canvas. Save some room for your little light at the top. So 1, 2. So draw those in at the very top. All right, they're not so big. They're not very big. They just come out the side a little bit of our lighthouse. So they just come around just a little bit. They're not very large. They don't go wide. So they're just a little bit out away from our lighthouse. Not too far though. Okay, and round those edges because our lighthouse is round. Okay, so next we're gonna we've got to draw in our light. So I'm just gonna make a little round circle where my light's gonna be. It's gonna be right in the center. So I'm just gonna draw a little circle here. No right or wrong, but it's our little circle for our light because we're gonna cover that right up with paint. But if you can see mine, right at the top there is my little circle where my light is gonna go. Right in the middle, at the top, perfect. Okay, now we're gonna draw our cage. So I'm gonna count from the picture. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 lines for our caged area at the top. Okay, those lines are gonna cover our light completely. They're gonna start coming up from our line at the bottom here. 7 lines coming up. Does that make sense? So we're creating that cage. So draw those 7 lines upward, and those come in on an angle too. So as you can see, those little lines, they come in on an angle here on the photo. Okay, so draw those 7 lines coming up, and then we'll put a line straight through those, okay? And that's gonna create our cage. So I'm gonna draw mine now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and they're gonna cover our light. So take them where they go over top of our light. And then we're gonna draw a line at the top to kind of close them off, and a line straight through the middle of our light and our lines. So I'm tracing mine, it looks like that, if you can see. And then I'm gonna put my little ball on the top. Okay, so that's just a little smaller ball on the very top of my cage. So that's a very rough sketch. If you want to take a look at mine quickly, it'll look like that. All right. So as I'm putting my canvas back over this way, I'm just going to kind of finish off my sketch here. You can kind of play around with the lines a little bit if you need to, but it's just a very rough sketch. We're going to fill it in with paint anyways. So again, no right or wrong to this. So if you're following along with the picture, try to get it to look similar, but totally your own lighthouse. So no worries. So I'm just kind of figuring out the shape a little bit more with my pencil here, but I think I'm pretty good to go. So, great. So once you've kind of got that sketched out, give me a thumbs up. If you're still in the middle of sketching, no problem. Okay. So yeah, my lighthouse doesn't go right to the top of the canvas. If yours does, no worries. Mine doesn't quite go to the top. There's just like a small space. But it does go all the way to the bottom of the canvas. All right, our next step with our lighthouse is to fill in with these stripes, the black and white stripes. So to do that, I am going to need some masking tape here. We are going to put masking tape along the sides where we drew our lines here. That way we just don't go over into our water and our sky and stuff. So we want to lay down some masking tape so we keep our stripes clean. Okay, so I'm going to lay some masking tape down where those lines are. And make sure you lay it down nice and flat. So press it right down into the canvas. So we're only taking it to where the stripes are going to go. So you don't have to take it all the way to the top of your lighthouse, just where those stripes are. Okay. So lay those down nice and flat. And just on the outside of your lines here, because we want to cover up those pencil marks. So you want your pencil mark to be inside the tape lines. That way we can cover that up with some paint. So I laid mine down, so it'll look like that. So I've got my 2 tape lines on either side. And now we're just going to go in and have some fun painting some stripes in there. So with your black and your white paint. And you could just use your medium-sized brush for this, or your large. Totally up to you. We are going to start with, and there's no right or wrong size for these stripes, so however you want to place them, you can. If I'm following the image, I've got 4 black stripes, and I've got 4 white. So I'm just going to start with the black right at the bottom. I'm going to try to follow this, but if I get in a few extra stripes, not a big deal. So I'm going in with straight black, and I'm just going to space them out. And really our stripes get smaller as we go up the lighthouse. So when we're starting out at the bottom here, you can make it larger. So I'm going to make a nice thick black stripe, and these go on an angle. So your stripes are going to angle downward to the right side of your canvas. So they're angling down. So I'm going to angle this one straight down, and it's going to go right to the bottom of my canvas here. So cover all of your sand right to the bottom. It's going to be a black stripe. Okay. So cover black completely. And just, you can paint over top of your tape, but just make sure you're not going over the tape onto the sand. Okay, and we want to cover that up completely black, so if you can still see some of the sand in the background, try to cover it up with the black paint. Just make sure it's nice and black. Alrighty, there's my first stripe. So now I think I'm just gonna save a little bit of room for my white stripe, but I'm gonna keep going with the black. So because our brush is already dirty with black, I'm gonna save a little bit of room here for where I want my white, but then I'm just gonna go ahead and lay my next black stripe. So grab a little bit more black paint. Again, this white stripe at the bottom will be thicker, so leave enough space for a thick white stripe after that first black one. Now I'm gonna go ahead and lay my next black stripe. So this one won't be as thick as the other one, but I'm just gonna lay that down here. Okay, and again, it's kind of angling. It's going down on an angle. And this is my other black stripe here. Okay, so we're placing these, and they're gonna get smaller as we go up. But you're just laying those down. Make sure you carry the paint right to the tape. That way when we pull the tape off, the lines are gonna match up. Alrighty, okay, so that's my next black stripe. So they're just gonna keep getting smaller as I go. That area will be covered in white when we go to do our white stripes. So my next white stripe will be just a little bit smaller than this black one, so don't leave too much space, but we're basically going in another little black stripe next. So we want to get almost to the top of my canvas here because I'm going with hopefully just 4 black stripes. So this one, my little white stripe will go here, so my black stripe will be kind of in this area roughly. So I'm going to go in and kind of lay that guy down there. And I'm going to carry it even more down this way. So there is my other black stripe. And again, make sure we're covering up the sky with this black paint so we can't see any of that blue lake or the black sky. If you have to add a second coat, just add a little bit more black paint over top if you could see stuff through, because we want that to be nice and thick so that none of that paint in the background is showing through. Okay, so I've got my third black stripe good to go. And we're gonna add our last black stripe right towards the top here. And this is my last one. If you have to add another one, you can, but I'm trying to position it where I only have to put 4. I'm just kind of going over my bottom one again real quick. Okay, so here I'm gonna place my last one. So this one is gonna come up, it's gonna be right near our top. So if you're following the picture, it kind of connects to the top, but I don't think I'm going to connect mine that way. It's going to come from the corner of my lighthouse here. So I'm going to place that one now. And it's just going to come on an angle from the top corner here. Okay. Because this section here is going to be white. So we want that corner of our lighthouse white. Okay. So I'm adding in my last black stripe. It's going to be the thinnest stripe, so it's not going to be super thick. It's my smallest black stripe. Okay. Great. All right, so there's my last black stripe. So if you need to, before we move on to the white, if you got to cover up more black areas, go ahead. Or if you just want to touch up. Just make sure the paint goes right to the tape and all your lines and edges look good. And then we are going to clean our brush and we're going to move on to white paint and do our white stripes. Alrighty, so I think mine look good. I am going to clean my brush. And we're just, the leftover areas we've got, they're gonna be completely white. So we're going in with our white paint to make those white stripes. So you're gonna wanna really wash off that brush really good, or use a different brush, just because the black, we don't want any of that black getting in the white paint. And if you need to at any point, you could clean up your water, but you shouldn't need to. We're getting down to the last bit of this, so you should be good. But if you have to, you can refill your water. Alrighty, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna paint these white. So I've taken just straight white paint. And I'm gonna go in, make sure your brush is dry. And we're gonna grab some of that white paint and make our white stripes, okay? So for this, we might need to, depending on your paint, do a second layer, but it's gonna connect right to your black stripes here. And if you can still see the lake and stuff through, we'll add a second coat. Okay, so just line that up. Try not to touch your black paint. Try to line it up where you're not pulling that black paint if it's not quite dry. But line that up, and we're just filling that in. You could go a little bit thicker with the white paint and kind of place it a little thicker onto the canvas so it covers. Alrighty, I'm gonna do my second stripe. Right up to my black one. And fill that in. It's okay if your white paint goes a little bit over your black stripe, no worries. Just try to keep those lines as straight as you can. Alrighty, so I'm filling in. That's my second white stripe, and I'm just gonna keep going. So it doesn't look much different from what I had it before, but we're covering it with as much white paint as we can so there's nothing showing through. Okay, I'm doing my third one at the top here. And this is where it might get, the black's not quite dry. So just watch when you're connecting the two. Okay. So keep adding, grab a lot of paint, a lot of that white paint so we can kind of lay it on a little bit thicker so that it's gonna cover more. All right, okay, so I'm on my last white one, and no worries if you're not, take your time. And this is just the very corner of my lighthouse at the top here, so. Kind of take it up to where your black line will start up there, okay? It's kind of like a little triangle shape we're filling in at the top here. If you need to, you can grab your smaller brush for this one, just to cover the smaller area. But I'm just using my medium brush here. All right, okay, that looks good. What I'm gonna do now, once you've got all your white filled in, I think I'm just gonna, just where I have the dark areas like the sand and the lake, I'm just gonna add another layer of white into that. So I'm gonna go over one more time just at the bottom with some more white paint, just so that I know we're completely covered and that lake isn't gonna show through and that sand isn't gonna show through. So I'm just gonna add one more quick layer of white paint. Okay, so just on the two bottom stripes, and then I think I'm good. And then I'm just gonna clean up the two top ones. Alrighty, so I think I'm good with my white stripes. So we're gonna let that dry and we're gonna focus on the top part of our lighthouse now. So you can use the white that's left on your brush here. And I'm gonna do my little white light at the top of my lighthouse. So to do that, you don't need a lot of white paint, but I'm just gonna fill in that little circle at the top. Just fill it in with some solid white. And you don't need a lot of paint, just a tiny bit so that we know there's a light up there. Okay, so fill that in with white, that little circle. That will be our light. So I'm filling that in right at the top there. So I'll bring this closer so you guys can see. I just filled in with a little bit of white paint at the top there for my light. Okay. And now I'm going to clean my brush off and I'm going to fill in those black areas at the top. So still focusing on the top of my lighthouse while my stripes dry. I'm going to fill in those black areas. So clean your brush, grab some black paint, and we're going to fill those in. So if you want to watch me first, and if your tape goes all the way up, just kind of push it down a little bit if you need to. I'm going to move my, oopsie, I'm going to move mine down slightly. Okay. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to fill in these lines up here. So you could grab your smaller brush for this. I'm going to use my same one, but if you want to, just helps with smaller details. You can use your little brush for this. Okay, but I'm going in with these lines here at the top and filling those in. So those are our black marks at the top of our lighthouse. And they're going to connect down to our white stripe at the top, okay? So just fill those in. Remember, they are rounded, so they're going to be round and curved there at the top. So there's one. And my other one's going to come out the top of that one. Just going to clean up the sides just a little bit before I move on to my second one. All right, great job, guys. Okay, let's do our second one here. And we're filling that in. So remember, it kind of rounds out on top of this one and comes around. And down. And we're filling in. So we'll define these with some white paint and add some highlight afterward, okay? So fill those in completely black and make sure they touch right down to your stripes of your lighthouse. Okay. And try to cover up any pencil marks there if you can. If you can't, we can always cover up with some blue or some more clouds if you need to at the end. Okay, so those are my two black marks. Now I'm going to take my little brush because we're going to get real detailed here. And I'm going to take some black paint and I'm going to do my cage. So these are really thin lines. And we're just following our sketch lines for this. Just straight black, and we're going to fill in these lines. So if you want to follow me, we're going to go right over our light. So one. And it might be hard to cover up your sketch marks here. Try your best to do that. 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna counting out my 7 lines. Cool, so there's my 7 lines there. So I'll bring this nice and close so you guys can see. So I'm just following those line marks I laid out. No worries if you still have pencil marks. You can cover those up with some light blue to match the sky later. But just really thin lines using that little brush. Okay, and we're gonna finish off the cage like that. So a black line goes straight through the center of all those lines, and then we're gonna put another black line at the top to close off the cage. Okay. And then we've just got a little black circle at the top of the cage as well, so just fill that in. All right, great. So I'll hold mine up so you guys can see. Looks like that. Okay, and we're gonna go into our stripes next. So, so you're just filling in that light at the top and close up your cage, fill in those lines with black. And then we're going to go in, add our windows to our lighthouse, and we're going to add some highlight to the lighthouse using white paint. Okay, no worries if you're not quite there yet. I'm going to remove my masking tape, so that's the next step. So if you're still working on your cage, no worries. We're gonna remove the masking tape from our stripes. And hopefully you won't have to clean up any edges. It should just come straight off like that. And mine wrapped around the bottom here, so I'm gonna pull that off. Okay, and I'm gonna remove my next one here. Oh, this one kind of faded a little bit. Not as clean as the other one, but still not too bad. So I'll just bring that a little closer so you guys can see. So that's kind of what my lines look like there. So if you have some bleed over from the paint under the tape, you can always cover that up with some blue afterward too, or yeah, with the sky if you need to, or white or sand color. Alrighty, so we're looking good there. I'm going to add in my, let's go in with the white highlight on our black stripes. So I'm gonna take my small brush again. So once you're done with your cage and your tape, clean off that little brush. And we're just gonna add some highlight. This is gonna be like a dry brush. So not a lot of paint for this. We don't want it to be stark white. We just want a little bit of white to come across there, just to highlight. So pick some up on the brush, but just barely. And go in really slowly at first. And we're just adding in. So it can pick up a lot of white paint at first. So we just want a really dry brush of white. Just to add a little bit of highlight to the left-hand corner of our lighthouse here. So just coming straight down from the corner of our black. And again, it's just super dry marks, so not a lot of paint at all on your brush, and you'll get those dry paint marks. Okay, so carry it all the way down the side of your stripe, because we just want to add a little bit of highlight. Okay. And we want to add that to every black stripe, not so much towards the bottom stripe, but the next two. So our top 3 stripes, we want to add some of this highlight to, just in the left-hand corner. I'm just going to touch up this one a little bit more. Okay, and moving on to the next one. Again, coming from the left-hand corner, just a little bit of white, not a lot, and we're carrying it across. So even less paint, really. It's just a very little bit of white, not a lot at all. And we're carrying it across just for some highlight. and just get it to where you think it looks good coming across. So just a little bit of that white paint straight across that black stripe. And our last one at the bottom here, not so much on this one, just a tiny little bit, and carry it across. Super dry marks. Okay, so I'll bring mine up close. So I even put a little bit more than I probably needed to, but that's okay. So I didn't really put any on the bottom here. You can a little bit in the corner if you'd like, but you don't really need it. We're gonna cover it up with grass and stuff. So that's what that looks like. Next, I'm gonna make my black windows. So those are gonna be on the far right-hand side of our lighthouse. And they're gonna start off big towards the bottom and get smaller as we go up. There's only 3 windows. So we're adding in 3 windows up the side of our lighthouse, okay? So I'm gonna clean off my little white brush. I'm gonna use that for the windows. Okay. All right, when you're ready to go, grab some black paint. And our windows are gonna be kind of curved, rectangular. So make a little rectangular area towards the bottom here. So I'm just going to roughly place that very freehand. There's no right or wrong, just a little. It could be round, but it's really a small rectangular shape at the bottom, and fill that in with our black. You might have to use a little bit more black paint if the white's not completely dry, but we're going right over that white stripe to create our black window. This is our biggest window, so it's gonna look like that. Okay, no right or wrong shape. So you can make them round, long, however you want. Big or small, really, up to you. And then I'm gonna do my next one. It's gonna look similar to the bottom one and completely cover with the black paint. Okay, just like that. And it's not gonna go right to the edge of our lighthouse, so make sure you save some room off to that right-hand side. Okay, and I'm gonna add my last one in, which is gonna be on the next stripe, and that's gonna be my smallest one. There's not a lot of area for this one. So this is my smallest window. And fill that right in with the black, and we're good to go. So it should look like that. Awesome. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna clean off my black from my brush here, and I'm gonna stick with the little brush. I think we should be good to go back into the top of the lighthouse. Mine's still a little bit wet, but not too wet. I'm gonna add some highlight there as well. So make sure that brush is nice and clean, because we're gonna pick up white again. Hopefully we're doing good. If you have a second, give me a thumbs up in the reactions. We're almost there, guys. We're gonna do our grass and our birds, and then we're good to go. So hopefully we're doing good. At the end, if you could comment in the chat, that'd be great. Just some feedback for the class. This is only our second virtual paint night, so some feedback from you guys would be great. If you could comment just before we end the session, that'd be awesome. 2, if you would like, if you could send me a photo of your final piece, just email it to me. That'd be great. Would love to see it. So if you have a sec, take a photo, send it through email to me. That'd be great. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with some white to highlight the top area here. So just straight white, just a little bit, again, not a lot on our little brush here. And I just wanna add in some highlight just on the top of these black lines here, just so that we know they're circular, we know that they're rounded. We're gonna add in some highlight. So I'm just gonna add to the middle line here. So not all the way across, but I'll bring this in. So I just started my highlight on the edge, doesn't come all the way across, comes right to the middle, just so we know there's two of those lines there and they're kind of rounded. So I just added it right in the middle of them. A little white line, doesn't come all the way across. Okay, now I just want to add some white to the top line here and kind of coming around the edge a little bit, because this is where the sun's going to hit the most. Okay, so I'm going to add just a little bit here, and I'll bring it in so you guys can see just after this. So just carrying it across, and again, this is like not a lot of paint on the brush, so we're keeping it really light. All right, so I'm gonna bring that in for you guys to see. So just a little bit of highlight there at the top. No right or wrong to this, just adding a little bit of white so we make those lines stand out a little bit more. Now I'm gonna add in a little bit of white to my lines here in my cage, just to highlight. So if the sun's coming from the top left-hand corner, it's gonna hit the left side of this cage. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of white to these lines on the left-hand side here. Don't carry it all the way across though, okay? So just a few little white marks on these lines, like no right or wrong, we're just adding a little bit in just to give it a bit of a highlight. It's just super rough, like rough highlight lines. And I'm even adding it to the dot at the top. So should look like that. Just adding a little bit to the cage and the top section there, just so they stand out a little bit. They're highlighted like the rest of our lighthouse here. Cool, so it looks like that so far. This is what mine looks like. Okay, hold on one sec. I'll plug something in here. There we go. Uh-oh. Okay, sorry there, guys. Okay, I'm back. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys are still good and you're seeing my photo here. Just needed to plug my computer in here, losing battery. Okay, so we're good with the lighthouse. Hopefully you guys are all highlighted at the top here and it looks great. Next, we are going to go in, I'm thinking, with our birds. Let's just go right in. We'll do some birds and we'll save the grass for last at the bottom here, okay? So to do that, if you're referencing your image here, so the birds are pretty sporadic. We're gonna add in quite a few. I'm just gonna count off the photo here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Roughly 10 to 14 birds. Totally up to you where you place them. So I'm just gonna go in and really I'm gonna go in with a gray color for this. So I'm gonna mix a little bit of my white and black still using my small brush. And I'm just gonna randomly place these birds in the sky. So there's no right or wrong to this. Make a gray color in your palette here and just a light gray. And we're gonna make most of our birds this color and we'll highlight with the white. Okay, so I'm mixing a gray with my little brush until I get it to a light gray color. And that's gonna be perfect for our seagulls here. All right, cool. So I got my light gray color and I'm gonna go in and you can change up the size. Like I'm probably gonna do 3 larger birds and then the rest are gonna be kind of off in the distance. So kind of switch up the size and totally randomly place them. I think I'm gonna do maybe 3 off to the this side here, and majority are gonna be in my large sky area. Okay, so these are totally random. To do these, you're just making 2 wing lines. So if you follow along with me, I'll just place one right now, and then you can kind of check it out afterward. Okay, so just 2 wing lines, really. It's fairly simple, just with that gray color, okay? And we'll highlight with some white and black after to kind of add in some color to these birds. So again, totally randomly placed. So go ahead and do that. Add in as many as you'd like. So I'm just gonna kind of space them out so they're not right on top of each other. Okay. I'm gonna add in my next one. I'm gonna do it, I think I'm gonna bring it up a little bit. Okay, so keep adding them in till you think they look good. And we're gonna darken or lighten these up as we go. So I'm just placing the bodies there for right now. And some are gonna be big and some are gonna be little. Okay. Add a few onto this side over here. Okay. Okay, I think I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got roughly 10. I might add in just a couple more. I think I'm missing some towards the top of the lighthouse here, so I'm gonna add in a few smaller ones off in the distance here. All right. Kind of hard to see from far away for you guys, but there we go. There's my birds. So now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna decide to highlight some white, totally random for you guys, wherever you wanna throw in some more white, you can. I'm just gonna pick a couple birds to highlight white on top of the gray. So just a few birds, not all of them. So I'm gonna take some white paint on my little brush here, and I'm gonna go in just to some of my birds to add in a little bit of white on there. Totally random, so. And if you want, I know in the picture some of them have some little tails. You can kind of draw those in, paint those on to your bigger birds here. Okay, I'm just gonna add a couple more little white spots and then I think I'll be good for the white areas. So totally random, you can highlight just one wing or both wings on the bird, up to you. So wherever you think there's gonna be some light touching the bird, add in some white randomly. Okay, so I'll bring that a little bit closer. I know it's hard to see, but I did highlight some of them white. So like this top one here and a couple other ones. So just gonna add a little bit more, I think. And then we're gonna be good to go. Alrighty. Okay, so next I'm gonna take some black because I'm gonna add some black to my seagulls too. So I'm gonna clean off my brush. So once you're done highlighting with the white, we're gonna add in some of our seagull markings with our black. So just on the tips of the wings on some of them, and maybe even underneath their bodies a little bit, some of the far ones off in the distance, you can add black. But I'm gonna kind of dress up their wings a little bit with the black and take it to the edge, the end of their wings a little bit. Especially on the bigger birds, they can be a little more defined. So some of these birds that are up close, we're gonna add some black to the tips of their wings, just to give it a little something else here. Okay, and I'm gonna add some black just under the bodies of some of the ones further off in the distance, just to darken it up a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna bring mine nice and close so you guys can see. So really random, just kind of pick where you'd like. The black is just basically shadow and some details. The gray is the base of your bird, so that's gonna add in another shade. And then the white is just highlighting the wings that you feel the light would be touching. So just totally random where you're placing those. No right or wrong, we just want some birds in the sky. Alrighty, so we are good to go with those. Our last step is our grass. So to do that, we're gonna wanna go in with our dark green color, which you can add in a little bit of black to darken it up a little bit towards the bottom, which I'm gonna do right now. So I'm gonna take my medium, actually let's go with the large. I'm gonna take my large brush just to kind of get that base of the grass, okay? So make sure it's nice and clean, and there's a spot hopefully on your palette. Mine's pretty full right now, but hopefully there's a spot there where you can mix some green and black. So mostly your dark green color. So find a spot where you can throw in a little bit of dark green. Take that dark green color and just a tiny bit of black. Again, not a lot, like a very little, just to darken it up a little bit more. Actually, what would be even better is if you add some brown. Some brown to that dark green if you want to darken it up, because really this grass is kind of dark towards the bottom here, so we want a nice dark green color for our grass. And I'm adding in, yeah, kind of like a mix of black and brown to my dark green because I just want it to be pretty dark. And then we'll throw in some green lines after we put this dark base down of grass. So kind of coming up with that color right now. What time are we at? Okay, so we're making good timing. We're on the last part of our painting here. So, all right, I got my large brush. I want to come up. So my markings are going to be, I'm going to just do it here randomly, but I'm coming up from the bottom of my canvas and kind of shooting up with the brush for this grass. So really your lines should look kind of like that. So you're almost like flicking the brush upward from the bottom of the canvas to create that like stemmy grass look. So again, starting at the bottom of the canvas, brush up and kind of flick up with your brush. So that should create those grassy markings. We want to just take that right across the bottom of our canvas. So that grass is going from one corner to the other corner. Okay, so I'm going to do that now and add that base of grass at the bottom here. And hopefully your black should be dry by now. But again, just like completely random, don't come too high up, but just high enough so we know there's some grass there and kind of mix it up. So no right or wrong. So mine's looking like that right now. So just really randomly placed, but we're carrying it straight across. Again, flicking from the bottom up with your brush. and carry that right across. And you could kind of go back over and fill in as necessary if you feel like you need to cover more area with that green. But it should go right to the bottom of the canvas, so I'll try to bring that nice and close so you can see. So I'm starting at the bottom of the canvas. There's a layer of green down there. I'm flicking the brush up to create those grass-like strokes. All right, I took it from one corner to the other, so carry it across and then you can kind of go back and fill in as you need. So that's the base of our grass. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do next to just create some of these like longer grass strokes, I'm gonna go in with my little brush. And this is where I'm just gonna use my straight dark green, just to add in some green, more green to this grass. So just a few like longer green grass strokes. So if you wanna follow along with me first or your picture before you attempt, you can. But clean off that little brush, go in with your straight dark green. And let's just place a couple of these tall green grass marks just randomly. And it's almost like they're blowing in the wind, so they're gonna kind of angle. If the wind's coming from the left-hand side, they're gonna angle towards the right. So we're just gonna kind of make them, I'm gonna mix my green with my dark green a little bit too, just so I have a mix here. And yeah, these marks are gonna be kind of randomly. And again, you're like flicking up with these. So I'll bring it in close again. So here's one of my longer strokes. Flick up with these and kind of go into the right with the wind. So taking that little brush, kind of coming up and flicking up. And yeah, totally random with these. But there are longer grass areas. And they're kind of blowing in the wind. So we're gonna create some brown ones too. So randomly place the green ones and then we're gonna go in with some brown as well. Okay. So that's what mine's kind of looking like. So again, just some random green in there, longer green grass coming up. Okay. And then I'm gonna actually pick up some of my brown color and I'm just gonna do some brown longer stems as well. So you can take your straight brown or you can add some of the like dark green into the brown, totally up to you. We just kind of want like a darkish greenish brown, I guess. But I think I might just do my straight brown and see what that kind of looks like. And you don't need a lot of it on your brush for this, so I'm just gonna try and pull this brown up and through some longer brown strokes through the grass. So with my little brush coming up, kind of right where I have my longer green ones is where my long brown ones are gonna go. So again, just straight across. And again, angling those kind of like the wind's pulling them. Oops, that might be a little bit too much brown. Okay, so really random. So you don't need too much paint. We want these to kind of be like dry brush strokes. Okay, so there's my brown at the bottom there. I just added a few in. Now some of mine turned out a little thicker than I wanted them to, but not a big deal. It still looks pretty random and it looks fine. So they're just blowing in the wind. So you're just adding a few here and there. Poking up through the grass. Awesome. Okay, I think I'm good with my brown. Now also too in the photo, there's some, looks like almost leaves at the tips of these grass. So to do that, you can kind of use, if you have a little bit more of your sand color, like that light brown, white, even gray, if you wanted to use your gray that you have left over from birds, just to the tips of some of this tall grass, go ahead and do that. Just use the side of your brush at the tops of them, just a few of them, not all of them, and just kind of carry over like they're blowing in the wind. So I'm just doing it to a couple of my tall brown ones. And it's just like a swift brush stroke to the side with our little guy. Ooh, that one might be a little bit thick, but that's okay. So kind of coming across, and you could switch it up. You could do brown, grays, whatever you would like to use. So just on the tops of some of this grass, they're like little leaves blowing in the wind. I'm gonna bring mine kind of closer so you guys can see. It looks kind of like that. So just pick a few that you wanna kind of do that with. And add those in. Super random, but like little leaves on the top of the grass and stuff. Alrighty, okay, well, I think we're pretty much good. But if you need to, this is a great time for touch-ups. And any spots where you feel a really good tip too is just to take a step back from your work. That'll help you kind of get a better image of things if you take a step back. So if you stand up, back away from the painting, you can kind of pick out areas where you feel you should add some things or make a few changes. So you can do that now. If you have edges to your canvas, another good thing, you can paint those edges. I don't have any, my canvas is flat, but if you do have edges, you can paint them a color. If you want to do them the turquoise color, or if you want to do them black, if you want to cover them in white, again, you can. So those are some things you could do now if you'd like, but we're pretty much done here. Another great thing too, you can add your signature to the bottom of the painting, which I think I'm just gonna do real quick now too. And for this, I would say your best bet is to go white or black for that. I think I'm gonna go white. I'm just gonna add a little H and M at the bottom, so just my initials with my little brush. And they're just gonna be super small in the grass. Oops. I'll try to make them small. Okay, so I just added my little initials. Totally up to you if you don't want to. I just did, so can look like that in the corner, off to the side, whatever you want to do. If you want to sign with a pen too, if you or a Sharpie or whatever works for you, but always good to sign your work. So that is that. I don't know where everybody's at, but give me a thumbs up if you're pretty much good to go. Awesome. Yay. Okay, cool. Oh, that's so good. Way to go. Awesome. Yay. Cool. So hopefully this is a nice one you can put up in your house for the summertime. But yeah. That is our lighthouse painting. So again, if you want to leave some feedback, oh, that's awesome, Karen. Nice job, looks good. So yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. So if you can comment, leave a comment here, or give me a shout out through email, just on the email with the link and stuff. You can reply to that. Send a photo of your finished work. That'd be awesome. We'd love to see it. So that's kind of that. This is the end of our class. So I hope you enjoyed it and you had fun. We are doing, just a heads up for next week, we are running a Game of Thrones trivia on Friday night. If you or your family or friends are interested, there is a link to register for that on our Facebook page and on our Essex Plays at Home page. Check those out if you're interested. We have a lot of activities and games on our Essex Plays at Home page for you guys to do at home. So please check out that page. Other than that, I think we're pretty much done. So thanks again. I'm gonna end it here. Hopefully you guys are all good. So thanks so much for joining me. All right, you guys have a good night, and hopefully we catch you in the next paint night. Bye, guys.